In the early hours of a spring night in 2006, a 27-year-old medical student rode an escalator up to a second-floor bar near the Ohio State campus in Columbus, Ohio. Security cameras watched him arrive. They watched other patrons leave when the bar closed, but somehow those same cameras never recorded him walking back out. His name is Brian Shaffer. He had a future in medicine, a grieving but close-knit family, and a plane ticket for a beach vacation with his girlfriend. Then, in the space of a few minutes, he seemed to vanish from a crowded bar in a building full of cameras. In this episode, we'll look at who Brian was, what we know about the night he disappeared, how investigators tried to trace his steps, and the theories that attempt to explain how a young man could walk into a bar and never be seen again. Before we focus on the disappearance, it's important to understand who Brian Shaffer was. Brian grew up in a suburb of Columbus, Ohio. He went through the local schools, graduated from high school, and then enrolled at Ohio State University. He completed a degree in microbiology and later entered the university's College of Medicine. By early 2006, Brian was in his second year of medical school. People who knew him have described him as intelligent and easygoing, someone who made friends easily. He loved music, especially rock and alternative bands, and he played guitar. One distinctive detail that later became crucial to his missing person profile was a tattoo on his upper right arm, based on a stick figure design from one of his favorite bands. He also had a small mark on the iris of his left eye. Outside of school, Brian was in a serious relationship with a fellow medical student. The two had a spring break trip scheduled for early April. At the same time, he was dealing with a major loss. Shortly before he disappeared, his mother died after a long illness. Friends have said that her death was very difficult for him, even though he tried to keep moving forward with his studies and his plans. So, when Brian headed into spring break in March of 2006, he was a young man at a crossroads, balancing grief and stress with ambition, relationships, and the promise of a long medical career ahead. Friday, March 31st, 2006, marked the start of spring break at Ohio State. For Brian, it was the end of an intense week of exams and late-night studying. That evening, he met his father for a steak dinner to mark the beginning of the break. His father later said Brian looked tired from the week, but there was no sign that anything was seriously wrong. After dinner, Brian planned to go out with friends. Around 9 o'clock, he met his friend Clint at the Ugly Tuna Saloona, a bar on the edge of the campus entertainment district. Over the next few hours, they moved between several bars, having drinks as they went. At some point after midnight, they met another friend, Meredith, in a nearby neighborhood. She offered them a ride back toward High Street. Together, they returned to the Ugly Tuna for what was meant to be their last stop of the night. Security footage later showed all three riding the escalator up to the second-floor entrance around 1:15 in the morning. In the early morning hours of April 1st, 2006, closing time at the Ugly Tuna Saloona was approaching. Shortly before 2 o'clock, the camera near the bar's entrance recorded a brief but crucial moment. Brian appears at the top of the escalator near the bar entryway, talking with two women. They exchange a few words, then Brian turns away and walks back into the bar, moving out of the camera's view. That is the last confirmed footage of him. When the bar closed around 2 in the morning, patrons began leaving. The same camera recorded groups of people coming down the escalator and exiting the building. Investigators later reviewed this footage frame by frame. After extensive review, one of the investigators said he could state with complete certainty that Brian did not leave via the main escalator and front entrance. Reports differ on the exact time of that final sighting. Some sources list 1:55 a.m., others say just before 2 o'clock. Reports differ on this detail, but all agree that the last confirmed image of Brian comes from that narrow window, right before closing. At some point in those minutes, Brian became separated from his friends. When his friends eventually went outside with the rest of the crowd, they assumed he had left ahead of them or slipped out with someone else. They tried calling his phone but could not reach him. From that moment on, there is no clear, confirmed record of where Brian went. When Brian did not answer calls or texts, his friends were concerned. That concern turned into real alarm when he failed to show up for his scheduled spring break flight with his girlfriend. Once he was reported missing, investigators began where the evidence pointed, with the bar and the building that housed it. Officers searched the interior of the Ugly Tuna Saloona, including public areas, restrooms, storage rooms, and staff-only spaces. They checked stairwells, back corridors, and service access points. Behind the bar, a hallway led to a construction area that was not normally used by the public. That zone, and the exit connected to it, were searched as well. Investigators obtained security footage from the bar and from nearby businesses in the South Campus Gateway complex. They examined the recordings in detail, looking for any sign that Brian left disguised, with his face obscured, or in the company of other people. They did not find a confirmed image of him leaving the building. Search efforts moved outward. Officers and, in some areas, dogs checked nearby alleys, parking lots, and dumpsters. Flyers with Brian's photo and description were distributed around the campus district and beyond. At his apartment on King Avenue, about 6 blocks from the bar, Brian's car was still parked outside. Inside the apartment, there were no clear signs of a struggle or of someone packing quickly to leave. Teams also searched along the banks of the nearby Olentangy River and inspected sections of the sewer and drainage system. These efforts did not uncover any trace of Brian. In May 2006, weeks after he disappeared, Brian's apartment was burglarized. A television and other items were taken, and another unit in the building was also targeted. Police indicated that they believed this burglary was probably unrelated to his disappearance. By the end of the initial investigation phase, authorities had searched the bar, its building, the surrounding neighborhood, his home, and parts of the city's infrastructure. Despite this, there was still no answer to the basic question: where did Brian go after he walked out of the camera's view? As the case developed, a small set of key facts formed the core of what investigators could say with confidence. First, the video record. Brian is seen going up toward the bar at 1:15 in the morning. Later, he is seen near the entrance talking with 2 women, then walking back inside. He is not seen returning down the escalator or leaving through the main entrance when the bar closes. Second, the building layout. The bar was located on the 2nd floor, with the public entrance reached by an escalator. Near where Brian was last seen, there was a service or emergency door leading into a hallway and then into a construction area with its own exit. Some officers believed this area would have been difficult to cross, especially for someone who had been drinking. Investigators have not confirmed publicly that Brian used this route. The idea remains an unproven possibility. Third, his belongings and financial life. His car remained parked at his apartment. There is no known activity on his bank accounts or credit cards after he disappeared. No public records show him buying tickets, renting housing, or using financial services under his own name after April 1, 2006. Fourth, the cell phone anomaly. For months after he vanished, calls to his phone usually went straight to voicemail. Then in September 2006, one call rang several times and registered a connection on a cell tower in a community northwest of Columbus. The phone company suggested this might have been a technical issue, or the device briefly switching on. Investigators have not confirmed this publicly as evidence of Brian's location. The importance of that ping remains uncertain. Finally, the age-progressed image. More than 15 years after the disappearance, specialists created an age-progressed image showing how Brian might look in his early 40s. It is an estimate based on photos and typical aging patterns, and is meant to help the public recognize him if he is still alive. These facts define the outer edges of the case. A man who is clearly seen entering and standing near the bar's front area, who is not seen leaving through the main exit, whose financial trail stops that same night, and whose phone produced one ambiguous signal months later. Because the confirmed evidence ends inside or just beyond the bar, several theories have been proposed to explain what might have happened to Brian. These are theories, not established facts. Theory 1, foul play. One theory suggests that Brian was the victim of a crime, either inside the bar or soon after leaving through a route that was not clearly recorded. Under this idea, someone may have harmed him and then hidden or moved his body before anyone realized he was missing. Supporters of this theory point to the lack of exit footage and the complete absence of remains. However, investigators have not announced publicly that they have forensic proof of a specific crime or identified any person as responsible. Theory 2. Service exit and accidental death. A second theory focuses on the service door and the construction area behind the bar. In this scenario, Brian might have used the service door, entered the construction zone, and suffered an accident, such as a fall or becoming trapped in a space that was difficult to search. The construction area was searched, but it is not publicly clear whether every possible void or confined space was accessible. Investigators have not confirmed this publicly. This remains a theory, not an established fact. Theory 3. Voluntary disappearance. A third theory is that Brian chose to walk away from his life. People who support this idea point to the stress of medical school, the recent death of his mother, and the possibility that he wanted a different kind of life. Under this theory, he would have found a way to slip out unnoticed, perhaps changed his appearance and avoided leaving a financial trail. Those who knew him have generally said they find this hard to accept, pointing to his upcoming trip, his relationship, and his ongoing plans. There is no confirmed evidence that he prepared a new identity or arranged a documented way out. Theory 4. Serial predator connection. Another theory links Brian's disappearance with cases in which young men go missing after nights out, sometimes near bodies of water. In this theory, an unknown serial offender targets victims in similar circumstances. In Brian's case, investigators have not confirmed publicly that there is any concrete evidence tying his disappearance to such a pattern. This remains a theory, not an established fact. Public discussion has also focused on how forthcoming certain individuals from that night have been with information. Some friends and family members have expressed frustration. However, these concerns have not led to any charges in the case. Each of these theories attempts to answer the same core questions. How did Brian leave the bar area without being clearly seen? And why has no trace of him been found? So far, none of the theories has enough publicly known evidence to move beyond speculation. After the initial search efforts, Brian's case never fully went away. Over the years, investigators have received tips from different places. Some have been possible sightings. Others have been people who thought they recognized him in photos or public locations. None of these have led to a confirmed discovery of Brian or his remains. In one widely discussed incident, a photograph of a homeless man in another country spread online because some observers thought he resembled Brian. The image was passed to investigators and then analyzed using facial recognition technology. The man in the picture was ruled out. Brian's father remained heavily involved in pushing for answers and for stronger procedures in missing adult cases. He joined other families in advocating for statewide standards on how such investigations should be handled. A law was eventually passed creating a more consistent protocol. In 2008, Brian's father died in a storm-related accident at his home. His death meant that both of Brian's parents were gone without knowing what happened to their son. Not long after, a message appeared on his father's online obituary, claiming to be from Brian and mentioning a faraway location. Investigators traced it to a public computer in Ohio and determined it was a hoax. The bar where Brian was last seen eventually closed. Tenants and storefronts in the building changed over time, but the questions surrounding his disappearance did not. In 2021, an age-progressed image was released, showing what Brian might look like in his early 40s. This was a reminder that to authorities the case is still active, and that a confirmed sighting could still bring answers. As of now, Brian Shaffer is officially listed as a missing person. There has been no public announcement of a major breakthrough and no confirmation of his fate. The file remains open, and the hope remains that one piece of information could finally explain what happened in those missing minutes back in 2006. Behind the timelines and theories is a family that has lived for years without answers. Brian's mother died shortly before he disappeared. His father spent his remaining years searching, advocating, and pushing for progress in missing adult investigations. His brother and extended family have had to live with the constant uncertainty of not knowing where Brian is, or whether he is still alive. For the Ohio State community and the wider city of Columbus, his disappearance was a shock. The idea that someone could vanish from a bar in a monitored building in a busy area raised difficult questions about safety and the limits of surveillance. Over time, Brian's story has appeared in television segments, print articles, podcasts, and online discussions. Some of that coverage has involved speculation, but it has also kept his name in the public consciousness. Attention like this can be critical in long-term missing person cases, where a memory or a tip might surface years later. His case helped highlight the need for clear procedures when adults go missing under unusual circumstances. It showed how families can struggle when investigations vary from place to place, and why consistent protocols matter. Most importantly, Brian Shaffer is not just a mystery. He is a real person, a son, a brother, a partner, a friend whose story remains unresolved. Every time his case is revisited, it is an opportunity to remember that a missing person is more than the questions surrounding their disappearance. If you have any credible information about what happened to Brian Shaffer, there are official ways to share it. The case is still open. Tips can be reported to the Columbus Division of Police at 614-645-4545. You can also contact Central Ohio Crime Stoppers at 614-461-8477 if you prefer to submit information through a tip line. In addition, the FBI accepts information through its national tip line at 1-800-CALL-FBI or through its official online tip form. When you reach out, mention that your information concerns the disappearance of Brian Shaffer from Columbus, Ohio in April 2006. At the time he disappeared, Brian was 27 years old, about 6 feet 2 inches tall, around 160 to 165 pounds with brown hair and hazel eyes. He has a distinctive stick figure tattoo on his upper right arm and a small dot on the iris of his left eye. Even after many years, a single accurate tip could help explain what happened on that night, and could finally bring answers to those who have waited so long. Brian Shaffer's disappearance is unsettling not because of dramatic twists, but because of how suddenly the trail stops. A normal night out at the start of spring break. A bar watched by cameras. A young man with exams behind him and a vacation ahead. And then, no clear exit and no clear answers. For his family, his friends, and his community, the hope remains that someone still knows a piece of the story that has not yet been shared. If you value fact-based true crime storytelling, please like this video, subscribe to the channel, and share it so that more people can hear these stories and, in some cases, help keep these cases alive. Thank you for watching. Stay safe, stay aware, and take care of each other.